Hi Tom, lovely to meet you the other day and begin working on your game. As promised, a quick recap on the key points that we discussed during your session. Obviously the main thing was particularly with driver, was trying to reduce the amount that you hit up on the golf ball. Hitting down or up, maybe 1 or 2 degrees is fine. Either way, doesn't really matter. If you're hitting up 8, sometimes even 9 degrees like you were, it's creating some serious issues, and it was creating a situation where if ever you try to draw the ball, you just had to aim the swing so far to the right that when you looked up the hole, there's just no way you're going to commit to that sort of swing. It required a lot of hand action as well, as you're going to see very shortly. There's also an element of sequencing going on here that needs looking at. But mainly we changed a few things at setup. We asked you, if you look at the face-on comparisons, what we've got is we've introduced some pieces that are going to allow you to hit up less on the golf ball to a degree, and create the in-to-out piece of the swing in the correct manner. There's different ways of producing in-to-out during a swing, as you're about to see shortly. So what we've got at setup, down on the bottom centre, is we've got the feet flared out a little bit more, particularly the right foot. So we've got right foot out a little bit more. We've got the ball back more, and we want the ball positioning for you at the moment about a ball in from our 0 point. Now 0 point is the left shoulder, so from here now, if we take a line down from the left shoulder, we want your ball positioned sort of ball back. You're just about a ball back of that left shoulder. I've actually put the line in the wrong place there. Just cheated for you, I beg your pardon. So centre of the left shoulder, line coming straight down, and you can see there that you're just about a ball back of that left shoulder 0 point. So much better setup position. We've got the handle moved forward a fraction so that it's pointing sort of towards the centre of the left hip. So they're the changes that you were making at setup. Now, initially when you made these changes, the first thing we saw was that as well as looking a little bit more centred at setup, a little bit more over the top of the ball, this little move off that we got, we have this little bump there, and continue to move off during the backswing. So we're positioning the centre of the shoulders quite a long way behind the golf ball, beg your pardon. And with a more appropriate setup, so we've got the right foot turned out a little bit more, ball back, handle forward. We've got the cane to prevent you moving off it, but it's already starting to become less of an issue, and we can see that the centre of the shoulder turn now is in a more appropriate position for driver, which is over the top, if you will, or more in the centre of your stance. So we're moving off the golf ball a little bit less, which straight away is going to even out your angle of attack. And then now what we noticed is that during the downswing there's a sort of translation back. So we've moved off the ball, and during the downswing we're going to fall further back. The hips aren't going to move forward at all, so the centre of the hips and the left knee don't move towards the target. The head rocks further and further back, and what we were getting now was a situation where we're hitting 8 degrees up on that shot, where we've got a line of swing that's changing from sometimes it's to the right, sometimes it's to the left. It depends what you do with your hands to impact, but you can miss in either direction in a big way when you make that sort of move. The positioning of the cane at the side of your head was to stop or prevent this translation back. So you can see now that we don't move back quite as much, and we move back later in the piece. So there's a little bit of stuff still in there, which is to be expected. But if you look at the left knee now starts to get out in front of the left ankle. The hips are pushing forward for longer. So the linear movement of your hips, the movement of the hips towards the target, is helping keep the club coming from the inside. And is also creating, just going to get rid of those lines, it's also creating the side bend or axis tilt that we get at impact. So the hips moving forward are creating the axis tilt. What we have here on the top centre is the head moving back, creating the axis tilt, which is not as constructive a way of doing it. So we've got a very similar amount of axis tilt as we're coming into impact. but it's created by the head moving back rather than the hips moving forward. Both films, both pieces of footage were shot from the same place, and if you look at your head and your body in relation to the ping sign behind you, there's a huge difference in the overall look of those two movements. Left knees move further forward, hips have moved further forward, so we've got more linear movement in there. We've got the same amount of axis tilt, but we've got a much more stable centre of the shoulder turn. Now, from down the line, what was happening was, from the top, because of that move off the ball and because of that translation back, what was starting to happen was, and we discussed this was your sequencing, there was a very, very sort of really good backswing, and then almost like a really big sort of turn early in the piece. So we start to turn quite early. Now we start to tuck the hips. You can see the neck flexing forward, the shaft coming through a little bit too high, and now we're tucking and extending and dropping back to prevent the club coming across the ball excessively. And that tucking underneath gets the arms thrown off the rib cage with a very high exit. So there's a little bit of chaos going on there, if you will. So the drill that we gave you to help lower the exit was to hit the ball hard and stop quick. You can see straight away that in order to hit the ball hard and stop quick, the arms have to stay off the rib cage, or stay on the rib cage, should I say. If the arms come off the rib cage, there's no way that you're going to stop quick. And the act of keeping the arms on the rib cage is bringing the club back around the corner through impact. Now that initially was producing some big, sort of low pulls, you can see there, because some of the other stuff needed to calm down. We can now introduce some linear movement to keep this club in at the delivery position, which we're seeing nicely there, and we can continue the linear movement and calm down the release of the golf club to keep some loft on it and start the ball up to the right. And then this was the shot. I put you in the scenario, imagine you're on the first at Heswell and you're just trying to hit a little push down the right hand side. You can see now the turn out the way early in the piece is a little bit less. The shaft of the club is shallowing out in a much better manner. So the shaft's not as high between the forearms, so we're coming from the inside a little bit more. We've got a little bit more linear movement. Instead of the club being out in front of the hands, the club's now a little bit more in line to slightly behind the hands. Attacking the ball from the inside around the outside. Now the other thing we discussed was where you strike the ball on the club face. You can see that quick turn and then an extension moves the arms out and away from you and produces, if you look top left, quite a lot of heel strikes with more chance of hitting the ball in the centre of the club face with the sequence of moves that we're seeing on the bottom left. So we're better from face on, there's less translation back. The linear movement, the hips moving forward, is helping to keep the club on the correct path, creating the axis tilt that we want through the hip. And what we also start to see now is a slightly lower exit, certainly less translation back, less flex in the right knee, and from down the line a much better organised finish. You see the difference. We give you the left bicep as a way of you controlling things or policing things when you practice. So key thoughts were to flow both feet out, ball back and handle forward, hit a lot of drivers trying to maintain the stability of the upper centre. Don't let the head translate back. So you do need to spend some time practicing with a cane a couple of inches away from the right hand side of your head. Showed you how to set that up excuse me, in your golf bag. And the act of stopping quick, so the drill that we see you doing here on the top right hand side, where we hit the brakes very, very early, is to help lower the exit. So if we do a quick comparison of the exit positions here on the three swings from down the line, got the original swing where the exit's very high, with the right hand wrapping over a lot, high rate of closure on the club face, little bit of translation back, a lot of flex in the right knee. The drill, which was the lowest exit, still a little bit of closure on the club face. The right heel now is showing signs, or the right foot is showing signs of banking in. We can start to see the sole of the shoe a little bit more, rather than here we're just seeing the heel pop up with you going onto the toe end of the foot. And then we look at the swing as you come after working on the drill for 30-40 minutes or so. Again, we're seeing a slightly different move through the hip, seeing a little bit of a different leg action, certainly less movement back towards the camera, and a little bit less of the lead leg as we're coming into impact. So keep the upper axis stable, keep the hips moving forward. You do that by working with a cane, and then hit the ball hard and stop quick will help control and help improve the way the club exits. And I think you're going to have a nice surprise, because if you keep working on these two or these couple of things, you're going to see other things start to change as well. When we film this swing next, you're going to start to see some really nice changes that, if you will, as we discussed on the day, you've got for free. You don't really have to work that hard to get them. So hit it hard, stop quick, stabilise the upper axis. I'll forward you some dates and some images across over the next day or so. Good luck, have a great Christmas, and look forward to working with you again in 2014. Well done.